Here's Archie's Travels, Chapter 10, entitled Night. That night he slept fitfully, and he had a terrible nightmare. In his dream he could see all of the pigs in a line, and they were walking to their doom, but they didn't know it. They were heading to a furnace, and Archie watched them marching along happily, but there was nothing he could do to stop them. Archie pulled at his lead, and he barked in frustration, but nothing could stop them from disappearing one by one into the fire. Jack and his mistress were smiling and laughing and enjoying the show, while the smell of burning bacon filled the air grotesquely. Jack was sharpening knives and the table was set. Archie woke up and he was sweating, and it was a great relief that it was only a dream. He was woken once again by the crowing of the cockerel, and he lapped at the water in his bowl, and he couldn't wait for his breakfast. He didn't have long to wait as the lady entered with a bag full of dog biscuits. He gobbled them up and he began to feel better. He was ready to begin the day. It didn't take long for his master to come round, and he ordered Archie to follow. They went into the milking parlour. Archie had never seen anything like it before, and he was amazed when he saw the cows. They were gigantic. He'd seen cows before from a distance, but never up close, and he couldn't help but stare at the steam coming out of their nostrils and the big beautiful spots on their coats. They were beautiful in a strange way, thought Archie. The machine was making loud chug chug chugging sounds, and Jack was sprawled under one of the cows. Archie got close to see what he was doing, and he could see Jack was putting cups on the underside of the cows. But each time he attached one, the other one would fall off into the dirt. It looked quite comical, but Jack wasn't laughing, as he floundered about in the mud and shouting and swearing. Eventually, all four of the cups were attached, and the milk flowed easily up the pipes. It was amazing to see. The cow being milked kicked its legs and sent mud flying over Jack, but eventually it settled down and resigned to its fate. While the milk was being extracted, Jack moved on to the other cow. This one was a lot easier, and apart from stomping its feet in frustration, it did little to annoy Jack, which was a relief to Archie, as the last thing he wanted was to incur the wrath of Jack. Jack filled up 2 pails of milk, and carried them by the handles into the farmhouse. He was whistling away happily, which was a good sign. The wind outside had picked up, and it was blowing rubbish around the yard, and the trees were bending so far back that he was afraid that they would snap like matchsticks. A sound like thunder was growing, and Archie stood in the lane and he sniffed the air, and he marvelled at the moon in the sky. The thunder-like noise grew louder, and then Archie and all of the trees around him were bathed in a brilliant white light, as if a giant floodlight had been switched on and directed just at them. It wasn't thunder, it was a rush of the wind which preceded the roar and the stunning speed of an articulated lorry. It passed so close by Archie's nose that it made him sneeze, and it blew his ears back and ruffled his coat. Leaves fell on his puzzled and frightened head, and he watched the lorry shoot into the distance. It was a close call. Maybe dogs have 9 lives too, he thought, but he knew that he'd have to be more careful in the future, and he trotted back to the farm. Jack was sitting on the steps and smoking a big cigar, and he was looking pleased with himself. His lady friend was with him, and she was busy stuffing her face with food as usual. It was a bacon sandwich. Archie realized with horror. He smelled the smell before, and he knew that it could be intoxicating. It was like a magic potion, impossible to resist. But all they could think about was Peter and his friends and the terrible fate which awaited them.